Hello and welcome back. In this episode, we're going to create a note-taking app, and specifically in this one episode, we're going to learn how to render the notes page and the list of notes, I guess. So, a quick recap: in the last video, Jeffrey taught us how to create a notes table. Right now, it has nothing, and associate that with the users table. So, for example, if I say PHP is good, and I'm going to associate that with the user ID 4, which is I haven't installed. First I have to create a user, excuse me. So create a new user. I'll call that user code Jimmy, and his email would be james@example.com. Okay, so let's commit that. Control S. User ID doesn't have a default value, so I'm going to remove this. So this is what is causing the error. That's fine, I'll delete this row. Okay, first I've created a user, commit this. So I do that by pressing Control S. I don't want to run this, ID is null. You can, do you want to unlock it? No, thank you, I don't want to. Yeah, just show me the users, all users, please. And go to user, yeah, here. User ID is 6, okay. Excuse me. So I'll create a new node called I love PHP, user ID 6. Hit enter and press save. So that's a note that I just created. Okay. Now let's see. I think Jeffrey's done multiple of these behind the scenes, but let's see if that's true.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's jump right in where we left off in the previous episode. Okay, so behind the scenes, I've created 2 users, as well as a handful of notes that belong to those users. So notice this one has a user ID of 1. And
okay, so he's just done 2 users and 4 nodes. Let's do that. Easy peasy. I love PHP. I'll say in fact, let me create a new user as well. Let's call her Emma, and her ID is emma@example.com. And over here in the notes, let's say, yeah, PHP is awesome. Let's say, what was Emma's ID? Hasn't been arrived, is 6, so probably 7. Okay, let me do this step by step. Delete rows. I just delete this. Let me create Emma first. Emma's user, yeah, it is 7. Now I can have that. Yeah, PHP is awesome, says Emma. Then let's have another row where it says PHP rocks, and that's what James said. I'd like all family back off. This makes no sense. If you know what I'm referencing, it's a Taco Bell commercial. So PHP is awesome. I'll just say PHP. That's what James said. James is this is what Emma says. So Emma is user ID number 7. Cool, let's commit these 3 nodes. So I have 4 nodes and 2 users as well. Let's go.
And that one also has an ID of 1. So those correspond to John. Now, if I write a SQL query for that, I might say select star from notes where the user ID is 1 or John. And sure enough, I will get only his notes. And if I change it to 2, then I will get Kate's notes.
Let's try this. I go to SQL editor, select star from notes where user ID equals 7, I believe was Emma. Yeah, that's what she says, and 6 was James. Oh, not base 64, just 6. Yeah, that's what James said. Cool.
Okay, let's try to get this on the screen. So if I open index.php, of course, a number of episodes ago, we required a router, and this router has some example endpoints that we respond to. So let's have a look in the browser. And yeah, this probably looks familiar. So let's do this. I'd like to add a new notes link to the navigation bar. All right, we will go.
Okay, give me a second. Let's do that. I still have this up, but I haven't. Why? My app.posts was not found, obviously, because I deleted that. So I think my app is still fine. Database should be not the posts table. Okay, where is it not finding it? Stack trace database.php. Okay, okay, my app, and where am I? I think in the index.php is where, yeah, over here. Select star from notes. Yeah, this should work. What's happening? Why are you small? Yeah. Let's go. Why is this not hiding automatically? Is there a... Okay, cool. Okay, let's go. Yeah, now it should. Cool, it does. So let's bring back the router. Yeah, everything works as expected. Now he wants us to add a notes tab over here. So that was done in views, partials, nav.php, and here I'm gonna copy and let's have that be the first thing before about. What did I do? I think I had duplicated the about us. I didn't? Okay, that's cool. Now I have certainly contact. Yeah, looks good. I'm gonna call it notes. Let's refresh. Yes, it works. So there's no notes controller yet. Instead there should be notes. Okay, let's wait for him to show us the way.
Go into views, partials, nav, and yeah, if I hide the sidebar, here's our links. So why don't we put it after the about page? That will take us to /notes. We will activate it if the URL contains that. And then, yeah, this is a little messy. And by the way, we could clean this up quite a bit, but I just want to stay on track for now. And I will update this to notes. Okay, so if I switch back and give it a refresh, there we go. We have our notes link. But of course, if I click on it, we get a sorry.
Is that true? So I did that with contact. I'm gonna move that. So I did Alt down arrow key to move the line below. So instead of contact should be notes, should be notes plural. and I'm calling it notes, right? Yeah. Let's go. Okay, home, about us, notes, contact. Did he just call it about and not about us? Sure, so let me fix that too. Okay. Yep, 404, home, not. Cool.
Page not found. We get
Also, I see that he
404
has
because we haven't
this drop down. So I'm probably going to do that too at some point.
registered a listener, so to speak, for that URI. So that's the next step. Let's go back to, here we are. Let's go back to our router, and we'll say, we'll duplicate this, and listen for, that's how I think of it, sort of like a listener. Listen for when the user requests this URI, and when they do, I'd like to load my controllers / notes controller. All right, that's the next step.
Okay, let's follow along. Now I should go to the routes, so I'll bring the router up. I'm gonna I'm gonna copy and paste this and look for notes, controller notes, controller. Can I duplicate this? Copy and paste. Instead, rename it notes.php and require about.view. Require notes.view.php notes and create a notes.view.php in here. Copy, paste, and rename this to notes. Hello, welcome to these are your notes. Let's see if that works. Yep, it does. Lovely. Okay. Cool. I should delete this, right? I probably should. Let me do that now. Where am I? In the nav. Where's the nav? Here it is. Okay. The profile drop down is here. This is a button and these are your settings. So I'm gonna take everything in this div and comment this out. Cool. How this works is this is a comment inside of a comment, so it won't work. I'm gonna change this. Now it'll work. Okay, so it does. I deleted everything. Oh my god, should not have done that. Let the profile picture be. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let the profile picture be. I think this is where it ends. Cool. Let's continue.
Right here, why don't we duplicate about? So Command C, Command V, and I will call it notes. There we go. Our heading is notes, and this will load a view, notes.view.php, And just like before, I can duplicate this to save ourselves some time. Notes.view.php. Okay, so if I come back and refresh it, there we go. So now we have our home page, our about page, and a new notes page. Okay, let's take a quick moment to talk about this. This is a really important cycle that you're going to appreciate down the line when you start learning about frameworks. So keep in mind what we did. I wanted to create a new page for our notes. So I started by registering a route listener or an endpoint, however you want to phrase it. Well, let's listen for this URI. Let's respond to this URI. And when the user visits that page, here's the controller that is responsible for handling that particular request. And then we created that. That controller can now do whatever it needs to. It can gather all of the data that's necessary, and then it passes that data off to a view. The view is then responsible for, at least in our interpretation, the view is responsible for presenting that to the user. And here we go. So we're going to think of it sort of like the HTML layer. I bring this up because some people might squawk at the idea that the view is basically the HTML. It's sort of a new thing, but you know what? It's fine for now. You can dig into that later on your own. Okay, so we have this idea of registering a route listener. We have controllers. We have views. I promise, once you start learning about frameworks in Laravel or Symfony, you're going to feel right at home. I promise.
Amazing.
Okay, so let's come back, and this is looking good. Okay, so now the next step is to fetch all of the relevant notes from the database. And yeah, I'm just going to assume that this guy here, the stock model, is our John Doe. So I want to grab all of John's notes. All right, let's go back. And it sounds like we should do that from our controller. Because remember, the controller accepts the request, it can delegate, it can prepare, and then it passes that data off to the view. Okay, so first up, we'd like to access our array of notes from the database. But yeah, notice that, well, I want to interact with the database, but if I go back to index.php, we don't create our database instance until after we require the router, and that router loads the controller. So for example, if I were to, within our notes controller, simply die and dump that DB variable, we're not going to see anything. Let's go back and give it a refresh. Yeah, and notice we get undefined variable DB, which makes sense because, again, we aren't creating that DB variable into the database instance until after we require the router, and after that router loads the controller. Okay, so that makes sense. But now it is true, this is something you will run into quite a bit, where you have certain services that need to be accessible from throughout the entire application.
Yeah.
And how do you make them available? Well, as it turns out, it's not too difficult, but I think it's a little above where we currently are. So I'd like to stay on track and punt on that just for now, but I do promise we will tackle what's known as service containers in the future.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so why don't we do this? Let's grab all of this, bring it over to our notes controller, and I'm just going to manually load it at the top. Manually load it. Okay, but now if I come back, I just need to make sure before I load the router, we already have the database available to us. That way, when we require the router, and the router requires the controller, then we will have a database class that we can instantiate. Okay, so if we come back to Firefox and give it a refresh, there we go. We're up and running.
Okay, pause for a second. Let me close up everything. So what he's saying is in the no, not the router, but I think it was index. Yeah, index.php. I was getting these. I'm gonna comment these out as well because I don't think they're relevant anymore. I got the database, but I need to go to notes.php and excuse me, configure those here. But because in index.php I'm already loading database before the router, I think I should be good, right? Yeah, so how about I die dump where user ID is. Yeah, let me die dump database. Sorry, item DB. Yeah, it works. But because I'm loading this later, it still shows me, I guess. I don't know. So there's connection video too. That's what he got as well, right?
Okay, so if we come back to Firefox and give it a refresh,
Yeah, he did.
there we go. We're up and running. Okay, so let's write our query now. I can say notes equals db query, and yeah, we're just going to write our query that we played around with at the beginning. So John has a ID or a user ID of 1, so let's grab that, switch.
Okay. Query. And the query here was Jimmy has a user ID of 6. Fetch all. Cool. So I have two. I have I love PHP, PHP rocks. Okay. This should be PDO associative array. PDO sock. Fetch a sock. Yeah. Is this right? Yeah, I think this is right.
Switch back and paste it in. And then let's fetch all of the results. And then once again, let's pass notes to our handy dandy DD function.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've been like I'll call this notes. This notes. Yeah, still the same thing.
Okay, so come back, give it a refresh, and just like that, we have all of John's notes from the database. Perfect. Okay, so now when I load the notes view,
I don't need to do fetch a soak here because I think fetch a soak is already implied in the previous one. So I'll show you where fetch a soak was implied over here. It was the default anyway. So this did nothing. Ha 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 ha. Got myself.
all I have to do is loop over these notes. And we already learned about that in section 1 of this series. So let's do it maybe right here. We can say PHP.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go. In my notes.view, I'm gonna say, hello, these are your notes. You know what? I think I can also fetch the username. Can't I? I think I can. I'll say name equals db query select t select name from users table where id equals 6 and fetch all. I don't think it'll be fetch all, it'll just be fetch. Okay, now let me dd the name as well. You know why DD isn't actually like killing this for me, dying, is because I'm probably haven't defined it correctly. Yeah, I haven't like ended the execution over here. That's why. That's fine, I guess. I'm okay with this. So does it give me Jerry? Jimmy? Yeah, there you go. Jimmy, let's go Jimmy. Excuse me. So I have name, I have notes. So let me go to notes.php, change this to h1 tag, and I'll say hello echo name. These are your notes. Let's see if that worked. Hello array. These are your notes. It's name. Hello Jimmy. These are your notes. Okay, cool. Then I'll go unordered list. Then for each loop in PHP mode, for each what was this called? Note in notes. Notes as note. So I'll say notes as note. What was the format? I think it was something like this. Okay, let's see. I think it was a parentheses.
For each, notes as notes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use the shorthand.
Yeah, that was it. You're right. That's parentheses. Notes as note. I'm gonna end for each. Okay. Echo list item. Note body, I guess. What was it? Let's go to notes. Yeah, note body. So it should be note body and close this. Why are you yelling at me? What's wrong? Syntax error. Unexpected. Because I'm in HTML here. That's more like it. Yeah, there you go. I love PHP. PHP rocks. But the h1 isn't big enough, so I'll just say class text to Excel. Hello Jimmy, these are your notes, and this would be the bullet point. I don't know why this isn't loading up as a bullet point, but I'll let excuse me, I'll let Jeffrey teach this
version. And for each, again, this should all be a recap at this point.
It is.
Why don't we just use a simple list item where we say, give me the note body. Okay, so come back to Firefox, give it a refresh, and there we go.
This is because I'm in an unordered list, that's why. Yeah, what happens if I remove the UL? Oh, guess is what the UL removes the bullet points. Today I learned. Okay.
We have all of John's notes. So that means if I were to go back to Table Plus, let's add another one here. How about thoughts on my continued learning of PHP? And again, let's say John's learning PHP, so he has an ID of 1. If I come back to Firefox and give it a refresh, now we see that as well.
Let's try that. Add a row. Let's say PHP is what I'm learning, and I'll say 6 was user ID. Yeah, save that, come back, refresh. Yeah, it works. Let me remove the DDs. The DDs were in here. It'll look cleaner. Yep. Hello Jamie, these are your notes.
Which is pretty cool. Okay, so now, with that in mind, maybe instead of notes, we should change this to my notes. So let's go back to our controller, and yeah, let's update the heading to my notes. There we go. All right, next, maybe it would make sense for this list of notes to contain only an excerpt. But then when you click on it, it takes you to the full note or something like that. Okay, well, let's see. Let's go back.
Pause. Let's see what's done here. Instead of my notes, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna move this here. Header should be name, name. Can I concatenate it? Names notes. Let's see if this works. Yeah, Jimmy's notes. Hello Jimmy, these are your notes. So I don't think I'll need to mention that here. I'm gonna, okay, let it be that, that's fine. But I'm kind of showing off, so I'll remove it. Notes.view.php. I don't need this. Much cleaner. Jimmy's notes are these. Okay, cool. Now, yeah, let's continue.
Back into our view, and yeah, maybe this should be a anchor tag that takes us somewhere. We're not sure where yet. Like that. And if I come back and refresh, now, whoops, did I screw up?
No.
Yes, I did.
So, Tailwind, yeah, anchor should ideally be there, but also Tailwind doesn't have, it doesn't show you a native this thing.
Anyways, now they are clickable, but you know what? They should be colorful.
Yeah.
Why don't we add a class of
Text blue 600. Let's do that. So I'm gonna add an anchor tag here. Anchor somewhere, and class should be text blue 600 underline. And I'm gonna change this to be here. Okay. What? Text PL text blue. Yeah. Okay.
of text blue, and then I will underline it. Or how about when we hover over it, we will underline it, and then I'm sorry, I need to use a shade of blue.
Don't be sorry.
There we go. Okay, but now,
You know this is actually better. Hover. I love it. Thank you.
What should happen when the user clicks on one of these notes? Where should we direct them? And yeah, in the future, I'll show you how to do things like this, where you say /notes/ and then a unique slug for the note. And this makes for a nice and readable URI in the address bar. But you know what? Right now, our little makeshift router doesn't allow this. So we're going to keep it simple. Instead, we will send the user to something like /note, and then I will pass through the ID of the note through the query string. That's a nice and easy way to get started. So for example, if I did this, all right, so now come back and you have a look right down here. We're saying load the note page and send through ID equals 1. But notice for every single link, it says ID equals 1. So this is another case where, of course, the ID needs to be dynamic. The ID needs to be, well, the ID of the corresponding note in the database.
Okay, pause. So the ahref needs to be something like /note/ let me enter PHP mode again. Note ID. I'm gonna exit PHP mode. Does that work? Yep, it does. Note/this, but it shouldn't be this. It should be note/ID question mark ID equals. Yep, now it works. Look at the bottom left corner here. Yeah, it works.
All right, that's the next step. So back to PHP Storm, and we'll say right here, open up PHP and echo the notes ID. All right, let's see if that works. So once again, have a look here. ID equals 1, and then ID equals 3, and then ID equals 7. I think we're in business.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's click it. But yeah, of course, we get a 4 of 4 because, again, I haven't registered an endpoint. So that's our next step. And again, try to get into the process of what this looks like. So we start by going to the router. We register an endpoint /note. We'll load a controller /note file. That can be copied, so notes to note. All right. And now, how do I grab that ID? Well, again.
Okay, pause. So we start off at the router, and we copy and place this here. It should be /note controller, which corresponds to the note list now. I'll create a note controller, copy and paste, rename it to note. Yes, so here this should be a question mark, and I should get that somewhere else. Let's see.
And you already learned about the get superglobal, right?
Yeah.
So if I were to say _get and then ID, excuse me, there we go, 1.
ID equals get ID, right? And I'm gonna concatenate this with a ID. Wait, let me just DD this. And of course, yeah. Oh, because there's no view yet. Wait.
So that is the ID of the note that we want to fetch from the database. So let's do this. ID equals get ID.
I keep calling get as a function, which it's not. Sorry.
Okay, so now our SQL query for this page will be select star from notes where the ID equals the ID that was...
Jesus Christ. Get star from notes where ID equals... I need notes, right? Interesting. Not where ID equals, it should be user ID equals.
passed through the query string. But remember now, I'm not going to inline it like we learned a couple episodes ago. That's a big SQL injection or formatting security threat. Instead, I will use a placeholder or a wildcard like this, ID. And then I can pass through those wildcards as the second argument, like this. Okay, but now notice that, well, we could do this if we want, but I'm creating a variable.
But that should be note ID, not user ID. He's kinda right. Wow. ID. ID is ID. Wait, what am I doing? Yeah, ID is ID. But I'm not die dumping it here because I'm not seeing it. I guess it's fine. There should be notes note.view.php. Now give me a 404. Yeah, here. Copy. Paste, rename note.view.php, and over here I should just instead of PHP for each, I should just mention PHP mode echo note body, right. Okay, let's see.
And that variable is only referenced in a single place. So as a general guideline, you don't always have to follow this, but as a general guideline, if it's only being used once, just inline it. And again, most editors offer a way to do that automatically, as you see there. Otherwise, just do it yourself. Get ID, and then I can delete this. All right, cross your fingers. We come back to Firefox, we give it a refresh, and yep, there we go. We're loading the note with an ID of 1. And just to prove it to you, ideas for next vacation, the note with an ID of 1.
Okay, let's go. Let's go to note.php. I don't need this, and I don't need to do this. So select everything from notes where oh god, I was in the wrong file, not notes, I meant here. sorry. So here I don't need the header. I think I do. DB query user ID is 6. This is what I've hard coded. And select notes from note where this is get ID. Okay, get ID. And have another. I'll remove this. So I'm getting everything from notes where ID is the query string, fetch all, those are the notes, and I am going to note.view.php, which is over here, and I am getting the note body. Let's cross our fingers. You know what? I think I have missed something. Question mark ID equals this. Let's follow along. I don't need this. I will need note.php. I don't think I need nav. Don't think I need db. Don't think I need notes. Do I need the router? I don't think so. Unless note.php is here. But note.php, note question mark. Oh god, I know what's wrong. I need nav. This is such a gotcha. I'll show you what's wrong. So what's happening here is no, not nav, notes.php. Where is it? Here. So what's happening is all of this is happening because of the extra /. Now let's go. You see this / is what's causing the error. If I go back home, go to notes, there you go, Jimmy's notes. But it's still not showing me the note ID. Let's fix that, okay? What's happening here is we're making progress. Note here it is. So note.body ain't working. Okay, so let me die dump note. Die dump. Okay, let's see what it is. Oh, it's a null. Interesting. Why is it null? Because if I go to note.php, I am getting everything from notes. Is there a notes table? Yes, there is, where the ID is ID. So instead of fetch all, I should probably do fetch. Right, because this is going to I shouldn't select everything. I should probably select body. Okay, let's go. Select body. I call this note body. It shouldn't be this, it should be body. And I'm going to die dump the note body. Fingers crossed. Yep. So note body is still an array with associative array of body. Okay, so I need to go to here and here. Call body. This should work. PHP is what I'm learning. Okie dokie. Works like a charm. Let's go. It was such a gotcha. What had happened was I had just created a trailing forward slash, and because of that trailing forward slash, it wasn't getting the right parameter when I used the get super global. I mean, it was getting the right parameter, but it wasn't matching.
Ideas for next vacation. Let's do, how about number 7? All right, let's update this, or actually go back to notes. This one has an ID of 7, and there we go. It matches.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool.
But yeah, at this point, notice I'm still loading the view for all of our notes, which we don't actually want. And another problem is, well, why did that work? Did you think about that? We were loading the
It worked because the notes variable is the same.
view for a different controller, but everything still worked. And that's because, well, we wrote a query to fetch a single note, but we did fetch all, which means give me an array of the results. Even though, because we're grabbing one by its ID, there will only ever be a single result. So we should update this to note and then change it to not fetch all, but just fetch a single record.
Correct.
Okay, now we can tweak this and then create a new
Let's go. It's so reassuring to know I did exactly this just by understanding what Jeffrey taught me.
view. So yeah, as a general guideline, for every single URI that you want to respond to, there will probably be a corresponding view for it, if there's something to present to the user. All right, so let's come back here, and we'll say, get rid of all of this. It doesn't need to be within an anchor tag because
Correct.
we're no longer linking anywhere.
Correct.
I can just present it maybe like this. And to keep things a little cleaner, I'll wrap it within a paragraph tag, which probably isn't right because maybe your note could be multiple paragraphs. But yeah, for now and for presentation only, I'll keep it.
Let's go. I'm going to do one other thing, and I'm going to say back to all notes in this way. Okay, I'll do a paragraph tag, anchor tag, slash notes. Let's say back to all notes, and I'll give it a class of text blue 600 hover underline. Yep. Amazing. Is this better? One other thing is there should be notes. This should be highlighted because we're in the notes section technically, but it's not, so I'm okay with that. If I wanted to do that, then I would say in nav, where is it? nav.view.php. If URL is notes or URL is slash note, then do this. Does that still work? Notes still works, and note doesn't because the URL I am not parsing, so I'll need to fix the is URL as well. So I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, bring it back. Hopefully this still works. Yeah, it does. Continue.
And there we go. Okay, so let's go back to notes. Let's look at work reminders. And again, in real life, this would probably be a fully fleshed out note about things you need to remember for work.
Correct.
Okay, so now let's just wrap up. I think we're done. But yeah, let's wrap up by quickly adding a button that will link us back to all of the notes.
Let's go. I just did that. Amazing.
Something like this, /notes, and then we'll say go back. All right, come back. Yeah, but let's style it. Text blue 500. I should have some general link styling here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can push this down just a little bit. Margin bottom of 6. Really quick styling, but yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so there's notes with an ID of 1, and then
I'm going to change that to margin top. empty6 because this isn't loading. Is it empty6 or m6? What's the format?
Whatever this is, 3 and then 7. And again, these are, and then styling margin bottom of 6.
Okay. Let's just give it an all-round margin of 6. No? Oh, because I need to put it in. Jesus. Not here, but in the paragraph tag, because it doesn't make sense to do it in the anchor tag. Class margin top 6. Let's go. Okay. Cool.
Really quick styling, but yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so there's notes with an ID of 1, and then whatever this is, 3, and then 7. And again, these are only the notes that were created by our fancy model here, John Doe. All right, you're doing great work. We'll keep going in the next episode.
Thank you so much. Okay, is there homework? No, there isn't. Okay, let me walk you through the code. So what we did now is created a new note item. Firstly, we created a notes view, the plural notes. Okay, so that to do that, we went to the router, declared notes as an endpoint or a listener, and then created controller/notes. Here, controller/notes. We created a database object. We moved that here because if we don't do that, then it'll load after the router, which means it'll just say something like db object not defined. So we chose to do that before loading the router. Again, you can see that in index.php. See, database is loaded before the router. So once we hit the endpoint on the router for notes plural, we create a database object and we query it to fetch everything from the user number 6, which is Jerry, I think, for us. Who was he? Yeah, Jimmy, excuse me, Jimmy's notes. And then we also fetched his name from the database table of users. Clear? So we use that name variable in the header and pass that header onto the notes plural view. Here it was used in partials head, I believe, right? Right. So in partials head, here you get no, not banner, excuse me. Yeah, you get the header over here. See, this is the header object here, which is receiving information from the notes plural header over here. Whew. Now back to notes plural. What we did was we looped over the notes array which we got from the notes PHP object, which is this one. These are all of Jimmy's notes. The notes array is being looped over, and essentially we're getting the note body for every single note. He had 3 notes, which is why you're seeing these 3 notes. If I change this to 7, we'll see someone else's notes. So if I try to do that in here, I think 7 was Emma, I believe. 7, and her name was 7. Let's see. Yeah, these are Emma's notes. Emma made 2 notes. PHP is awesome. PHP, PHP, PHP. And change this back to Jimmy. Jimmy was PHP rocks. Okay, so we have this. Then we created the individual note view. To do that, we again went to the router first and created a note view. By the way, to arrive at that, we'll still stick to the notes. We created a note without the forward slash. This one gave me a hard time. This was hard to identify. So we need to do it without the forward slash. Just add a query string which says question mark ID of the note. Note ID again is received from the notes plural object over here, which is being fetched. Now, since we have the ID of the note in the query string, in the note singular PHP, we went there and got that ID and used that to create this SQL string, wherein we just need to fetch the singular note body for this, which gave us an array with just an associative array still, but with note body as the return or value. We again fetched the name of Emma over here, and we said Emma's notes, again the same way as previously described in the notes plural PHP file. So we require note.view.php, and in note.view.php we are just receiving the note body, displaying that singular body, and linking to the notes plural page back. So that is the life cycle of what we learned today. Hope you found this useful. Thanks again for watching and learning. Please do go check out laricast.com. The entire course PHP for Beginners is free and is linked in the description. And also check him out on YouTube. It is almost an 11-hour tutorial. All of it is free on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye.